Hi, this is a Multicam Premiere Pro editing step-by-step guide. First thing is to organize your recorded assets. From here, you can see that all the assets recorded has been arranged in proper folders. Cam A, Cam B, B-roll Cam A, B-roll Cam B, background music, and the sound. I will encourage all to rename the files so that it is easily identified when you toggle between Cam A and Cam B. Next is to create a new project in Premiere Pro. Allocate a project location and give a project name and create the project. First thing first, under the Window tab, go to Workspaces and select Editing. If the layout is slightly different from mine, go to Workspaces again and reset to Save Layout. Now we'll import the assets. Go to File, Import, navigate to the folders, select all the folders and import. Next, with the project panel highlighted, use the tilde key above tab or beside 1 on the keyboard, expand the screen. Now we will expand the Cam A folder, Cam B folder, and the sound folder. We are going towards the multicam syncing. Select the first footage in Cam A, followed by Cam B using the Command or Control key in PC, and followed by the sound. Right-click and create multi-camera source sequence. And follow these parameters as shown. Press OK. If you have more than one recording, you continue repeating the same steps. Once that is done, we can tilde back to the normal layout. We are going towards sequence setup. With the two multicam footage created, select both of them and drag it to the timeline. If you drag through the playhead on the timeline, they look normal because the sequence setting has been created based on the recorded footage, which is a 4K resolution. With two of the clips selected, go to Sequence and Sequence Settings and change to 1920 by 1080p and press OK. You'll notice on the program monitor, it looks a bit zoom in. Not to worry, select both clips again, right click and set to frame size. And when you navigate to Effects Control panel with individual clips selected, you'll notice that the scale is actually at 50%. So originally, it should be at 100%. Next step is we will play back and listen to the audio track.
所以你能够适应吗？
应该不是没问题。
If you notice from this recording, the left channel is recorded with the interview's voice, while the right channel is recorded with the profile voice. So the peaking on the audio meter is not balanced. So what we need to do now is to balance the peaking by replacing the left channel with the right. So in order to do that, we need to go to the Effects panel over here and type Fill on the search bar and look for Fill Left with Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select both of the clips on the timeline and then drag the effects over. Once I have done that, you'll notice on the audio meter, the peaking is balanced.
点啦，不过我们尽量的小心啦。勤洗手一下，我有带一个那个消毒水在身上啊，每次上车啊或者去。
Do note as well, the recorded peaking is not very high. It's actually slightly above -9. So later on, we need to enhance the voice. As a good practice, it's best to enhance the voice before you start trimming and assembling your footages. Next step is to go into Window, Workspaces, under Audio. With the two clips selected, go to the Essential Sound panel. Under Preset, look for Dialogue and select Podcast Voice. Why is it so? Because I've tested, it works very well. And let's see. And we play back again.
车啊，或者去巴上买东西，都会一直在很努力的去洗那个手。
Now with podcast voice, it has actually enhanced the voice, but however, it's still a bit noisy. Encourage everyone to go to repair under the essential sound and enable reduce noise. And I'll play back again.
我有带一个那个消毒水在身上啊，每次上车啊，或者去。
Now the picking has been improved. The voice enhancement has been improved. Next step, we'll work on the trimming. We'll go back into Window, Workspaces, and Editing. So we have more or less adjusted the sound. We are ready to trim and assemble the story based on the storyline. So how do we go about doing that? So first thing I want to share something is that for video track 1 and audio track 1 is always maintained for the final video that is going to be shown. Video track 2 is more or less for your holding video tracks whereby you think that you're not so sure whether you want to use it first. So we'll just hold it there for a while. And at any one time, we can always turn off the visibility and we can also mute the channel. All right. So how do we trim? We will just drag the footages slightly away from the starting line. We can expand the audio track and look at the waveform. Most importantly for this step is you will trim off all those interviewer voices so that we only hear the interviewee speaking. Okay, so down here I can trim using my selection tool.
疫情之前我是很活跃的，每个一个礼拜去3天卡拉 OK 啦。
Okay, so now the next tool I'm going to introduce is called the razor cut tool. I'll just slice it off here. So I'm going to split the clips as I go. I can look at the waveform and determine where is the interviewer speaking. So what I'll do next is that I will just delete off those that I don't think so I will need it by pressing delete key. Once you have trimmed it, the next step is to assemble the story. So as a guide, you can actually change so-called the labels color as a guide. Say for example, I'm going to start with
你是说
this is the track that I'm going to use for the starting or the hook. I'll right click and I can actually label as violet. You can see that in sequence, it starts with violet, iris, Caribbean and all. To make it easier in terms of layman editing, you can put it as violet is the hook part that you want to feature first, followed by iris and all that for the body, and then later on lavender more for the ending part. I'm going to show you some example. I'm going to label this and then push this forward. This is how you can assemble, and from here you can play back again.
我是很活跃的，每个一个礼拜去3天卡拉 OK 啦。喜欢的就是 exercise 啊。
So once you have assembled the main interview and you got the storyline, and after a few rounds of listening, you thought that maybe it is workable, then you can jump into your B-rolls. Say for example, she's talked about exercising. I'll go back to my project panel. I'll look for B-rolls whereby there's exercising. What is the context of exercising? Maybe for example, under this track, I need to show her exercising. So what you need to do is to display the B-rolls in the source monitor. All you need is to double click and it should appear on the source monitor. And on the source monitor, you use the playhead to strut and then you just do a marking and mark up. Since there are no real music per se, then of course I'll just drag the video down. Best practice, drop it onto the track tree. Always toggle on the targeting track. So let's say for example, when she mentioned about exercising.
就是 exercise.
So sometimes you feel that it is very cropped, right? Most likely this is 4K resolution. And what you need to do is to right click and then set to frame size. Then you should see it wider shot. And if you think that you need to zoom in a little bit more, you can go to effects control and you can just zoom in a tad bit if you want to. And after you zoom in, you can also move the position if you need to. So these are some tips for you guys.
我们出去
Cam A
走走啦。那么疫情过后呢，
And then when she says
喜欢
exercise,
的就是 exercise 啊，唱歌啊，有时看他们去介绍。
that's for your B-roll. And what if you have selected beforehand another exercising? Say for example this one. So I mark in again and I mark out. And I'll drag the video as well. Note you can drag the footage here or you can drag here, but when you drag here, you can see audio, all right? When you drag only the video icon, only the video appear. Let's say, for example, I've dragged in here. Maybe I prefer this one, for example. I'm going to set to frame size again. And I also don't want to delete this one. I can put it on track 4. And I can turn off the visibility for track 4. Then I can decide
喜欢的
eventually
就是
whether which one should
exercise
I
啊
use.
唱歌啊，有时看他们去介绍一些景点啊，是
So these are all good practices, organizing your tracks to help you to edit
喜
faster.
欢的就是 exercise 啊唱歌啊，有时看他们去介绍一些景点啊。
Track 1 is for your main video. Track 2 also, but it's for holding. That means holding a video that you may think that you want to insert in. Track 3 is for your B-rolls. And track 4 also for your B-rolls, but more or less for your holding B-rolls that you think that is the second best. So once you have all the B-rolls assembled and you think that they are all good to go, what you can do next is this. Because we have already recorded in Cam A and Cam B, so as and when you can actually toggle between Cam A. First thing, you need to enable the toggle multi-cam view on the program monitor. With that toggle on, you notice that extra screen is shown here. And by default, it is actually a Cam A on the left and then Cam B on the right. So when I start to play, by pressing the play button here or the space bar,
OK 啦，
Alright.
那么每个礼拜有时有跟
I will change to
那个
Cam B
RC 他们出去走走啦。那么疫情过后呢，就关在家里已经2年多了。 不
and
过
I'll
现
change
在
back
呢
to Cam A.
人也是要找一点娱乐嘛
And I，stop.
所以我现在
So basically what they have done here is they have already trimmed out for me.
OK 啦。那么
If you have made a mistake, you need to undo and you can't undo anymore. What you can do is you can delete by holding down alternate key first and then select this clip and then you can actually extend back. Then you can redo the same thing again. Overall, with the B-rolls are all done, next thing is to bring in your music. Just select one of the track. This time round for the audio track, you are supposed to drag on the track 5. I'm going to play.
我是很活跃的，每个一个礼拜去上
You can start the music first or you can start the voices, depending how you want to craft it. For example, I'm going to start this way.
我是很活跃的，每
If you look at the waveform, as long as the waveform is getting more presence on the track, that means it's getting louder. It is important that you learn how to use the pen tool to adjust the volume of the music. So I'm going to use a pen tool here. As and when, at which stage I think that the sound is getting louder, I can bring it down. This is what we call ducking. You can duck the music slightly so that it will not be overwhelming the main voice.
现在呢，人也是要找一点娱乐嘛，所以我现在呢是在家里种一点花啦。喜欢的就是 exercise 啊，唱歌啊，有时看他们去介绍一些景点啊。虽然我没有出去，可是我也是看。
Once you are able to time the music with the whole storyline, then you are almost done with first cut of the video. Then next step would be you can consider doing your color grading. First thing is to create a new item over here at the bottom at the project panel. Look for adjustment layer. After that, you drop the adjustment layer on track 5. And of course, you drag until where the video footages are. Nothing's going to happen until you do some color adjustment. Next, Windows, Workspaces, and Color. Over the color, you will have this Lumetri color panel. By default, you should see something like this. And please make sure that you enable your Lumetri scope, Luma waveform. If you don't have it, go to waveform and enable Luma. And next one is the vector scope, YUV. These two elements will assist you to actually see whether your images are overexposed or more color bias. Now select creative. Under the look, if you have downloaded all the LUT, I would suggest all to use Alexa Lock C to Rec 709. I think I've tested, it's quite good. Once you have selected that, I suggest to punch the intensity to 120%. Once that is done, you notice your footages are all overexposed. What you should do next is color correction. The adjustment layer is meant for color grading, and individual footage that you're making the adjustment to is called color correction. Select the individual footage, go to basic correction. Under basic correction, first eyeball to the exposure and also eyeball at the Noma waveform. Bring it down first. So make sure they are within the 255 and 0. And also notice the highlights are really high. So I'll bring it down the highlights as well. And also bring back the whites. Next thing, I may want to punch the saturation a bit. I think that's about it. And if you look at the YUV, because of her yellow t-shirt, right, it's more biased towards yellow. Other than that, it's always in the center. Thing I need to do is to apply to the rest of them. So how do I apply? I need to give it a name. Under lumetri color, I'll rename. I'll just call it main profile. And I press OK. After I've done that, right click, copy. Then to select all the relevant footages I'm going to use. And then I'm going to paste it. Paste attributes. So under paste attributes, effects under lumetri color and main profile. When you select this and you apply, you notice all be similar. Select the B-rolls. And you notice it's also very bright. I'll adjust my exposure again. So for this case, if let's say I decided not to use this scale, I can actually zoom in slightly. That's how I can use it.
怎么说呢？有时我上
That's for color correction. So if you follow this method, then you get the hang of it to do your color correction and for your color grading. So once that is done, of course, we will have our outro at the end. The outro should not be color graded because they are all graphics elements with accurate colors. So next step is, I'm going to show you how do we do marking and markup for exporting. For example, I'm going to start from here. Put my playhead in the front and press I, or we can actually right click and mark in. And then go to the endpoint. So if let's say this is so-called the endpoint, and I also have my outro somewhere around here, I'll right click and then go and mark up. Why we need to do a marking markup is because when we go into your export, then they will only export this portion. I'm going to show you guys how to do caption. Go to Window, Workspaces, and look for captions. So under captions, basically what they can do is this. They can transcribe the sequence for you. Select transcribe sequence. And under the sequence, it can be in English or Mandarin. So let's say I select English. For the audio analysis, select audio clips that are tagged to dialogue instead of the whole audio track. And of course, for transcribing, do you transcribe everything on the timeline or just the in and out point? So of course, it's the in and out point. And they can also recognize when different speakers are talking, so they'll recognize for us. Do you want to merge the output with the existing transcription? No, we just leave it as it is, and then we do a transcribing in English. It'll take some time to transcribe, but I will encourage you guys to use this because they already time as they were speaking. So all you need is to, maybe later you can edit the text. So once that is done, go to create captions. Under create caption, make sure that you select default subtitle. The rest all default. And if you prefer to have single lines, of course you can, or you can have double line. All this I will remain as it is, and I'll just create. And they will actually create another track on the timeline.
OK 啦。那么每个礼拜有时有
Even it is inaccurate, it's fine. Why? Because we can go back individually We can edit them on the go. It's easier that way than you create individual captions. If you have graphics displaying during the play of the live action video, it should be on the track 6. So now the last part would be to export it. Export over here. Give it a file name. In terms of the preset, you can leave it as match source, adaptive high bit rate. And for the range, make sure that it's not entire source. It should be at the source in and out. Then they will show the gray out area over here. And you have a choice of exporting now or you send to media encoder. So this sums up the step-by-step guide for you.